Guys, Nick here from Quacker. Today we're going to walk through a relatively rudimentary version of the installation instructions on our brand new Polaris 1500 rear rack. We've got a bunch of pre-orders. The racks are in, from paint, assembled, and ready to ship, but we definitely want to have some guidance on installing these. So bear with us. There will be a much more in-depth video to come, but this one should at least get you pointed in the right direction. So let's start with box shirt up. You unpackage everything. What you're going to find inside that package is a passenger side support leg, the same thing for the driver's side, and then your upper end tray. 3 different components. The tray will be pre-wired with 2 sets of jacketed wiring, zip tied in the back right machine block. You'll also find a hardware pack. Inside that hardware pack, you'll have 6 bolts, 6 washers, and 6 threaded locking tabs. Couple things to make this installation more efficient and go a bit quicker that I want you guys to do before we start actually assembling the rack to then place it on the bed of the Polaris. First and foremost, we are going to have to fish this wire. Once the wire comes out the machine block, it'll be fed down this round tube in the leg, and you'll have to feed it down through this side panel, and it'll pop out underneath. So to allow you to get access to that wire, you're gonna have to disassemble this back panel, basically like the tail light panel and this back panel, so you can at least, this is a 2-piece, you guys will see it on your machines. You're gonna need to be able to get a hand in there to fish the wire through this panel and pop it out underneath. How you're gonna do that is there are removable screws inside the bed, and then there's removable screws underneath the bed. So I think it's somewhere between 6 to 8 screws. It'll be very evident which ones they are. You'll remove those, and this thing will break apart. Once you do that, leave it as is. The next thing I want you guys to do is grab your passenger side leg. And this is the part where it's a little meticulous, but we find this the easiest way to do it so you're not fighting with the weight of the assembled rack. So like mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's 6 of these threaded locking tabs. Grab 3 of them and grab your passenger side leg. Come up with just the leg. The rack is still laying in the box or on the ground, and line that leg up. I want you guys to come over here. This aluminum channel right here, the new Polaris Lock and Ride T-Rail channel. You can see there's a hard end right here, right where the aluminum meets the plastic. That is where the front of your leg is going to be butted up to. And there's a natural lip, you know, a 1/16 of an inch lip right here. So you can set the leg here and then scoot it all the way to the front until it bottoms itself out. From that is going to be the location that this rack is going to be mounted. From there, I want you can set the leg against a tire or just lift it up and take all 3 of these threaded locking tabs and start to slide them in to, there's natural openings in this T-rail channel. Slide all 3 of them in there. Once these locking tabs are in there, you're gonna kind of have to eyeball it, but you'll set your leg back up on the bed rail. There are 3 pre-drilled holes. It's as simple as taking these locking tabs, sliding them to line up to where all 3 holes are, and that'll align them perfect for then driving your bolt and your washer in. After that step's done, leave them in place. Make sure they align up perfectly, because it's going to significantly help you from having to fish them with a pick tool after you have the whole rack on top. Leave those in place. Repeat that process on the driver's side. So again, there's 3 holes. It'll be very evident, and there's 3 locking tabs per side. Once you have them set and in line, now we can take both legs off and start the actual assembly of the rack itself. So one of the steps that you do need to do, preferably towards the beginning of this installation, after you separate this passenger side panel and line up your threaded locking tabs, Polaris has closed off any direct entry for the wire to come straight through this rear panel and drop out underneath. We have to have the wire drop out underneath the bike and then route it to a power source and a switch just to power the lights up on this rack. So you are going to have to drill a hole. There are 2 preferred locations. The first one, and the method that we done on this bike, very, very simple. Where your hole will be located is like a direct drop down as to where your wire will come out. That happens to line up perfectly with this last notch. So I think there's 6 to 8 notches in this T-rail system. The last notch closest to the tailgate, that is one location that you can knock a hole. Doesn't have to be that big of a hole, just the, you know, big enough diameter to be able to feed both of these wires through. The other location that you can drill a hole through, and you'll have, this will be tricky to see, but this plastic piece right here, you can come down at an angle and knock a hole right through that plastic piece at an angle and fish your wire there. The reason we have to do it like this is so when this, you know, flat plate and wire sits down, when the rack sits down, it doesn't pinch our wire. So the main objective is the wire either gets fed straight through, or if you go the route to drill a hole this way, just make sure your wire comes down and then sits countersunk with this with the T-rail, just so there's no pinching of the electronics. So you've got your storage tray and you've got two side support legs, driver and passenger. I'm just gonna walk through the passenger side. You'll repeat the same process on the driver, other than you won't have to fish any wire, any electronics through. So when you receive your tray, there's gonna be two bundles of jacketed wire that you can kind of probably faintly see coming through this leg right here that are zip tied up here. Cut your zip tie, and I want you guys to flip the tray on its face. So the open machine blocks, the open milled out piece of the machine block is facing upwards. Take your leg and feed it, you'll set it right into the machine block. The one you need to be cautious of is your passenger side rear. That is where the wire is coming through. Take that wire and just feed it straight down through the leg. Again, very simple. You'll repeat that exact same process that we did on the passenger side with the driver side, and then to fasten the legs inside that harbor pack that I didn't mention, but all of our rears fasten this way. You'll have 8 set screws. It's 2 set screws per machine block, and you'll drive those all the way in, just hand tight for now. You know, we do want a little slack just so there's adjustability, and you'll come through at the very end and tighten all those up with some Loctite or whatnot. But just kind of hand tight in, 2 set screws per machine block, and just make sure that your legs are fixed into the rack. Once we get to that step, it's time for, if you can man it by yourself, set the entire rear rack up on the bed. If not, grab a buddy and throw them on the other side. You guys can hoist it up, set it onto the bed. From there, you'll obviously have to, again, remember what we talked about at the beginning of this video. The front of this flat plate on our leg will butt all the way up against this little plastic piece that's at the very end of this aluminum channel, the Polaris lock and ride channel. Once you have it set perfect, you'll drop your, again, make sure that the holes line up with the threaded locking tabs that you previously put in at the beginning. You'll drop your bolts in 3 per side and tighten them up. You want to make sure they're hand tight, both sides equally, and then really put some torque on them. We recommend using a red or black Loctite. These are the bolts that fasten this entire rack assembly, rack system onto this machine. So this is a component that you want to always make sure stays tight. But from there, that's really the complete process of the installation of this rear rack. It's, taking a leg, lining it up, setting your locking tabs in there, disassembling this 2-piece right here so you can get a hand in there, drilling, only one hole. There's 2 different places you can do it. Just drill 1 hole. After that, install the legs into the tray, run the wire down the round tube, feed it through one of the 2 holes that you drilled, set the entire rack on there and fasten it down using that. So again, this is rudimentary. Our 1500 racks got through production a lot quicker. The pre-order sales have been off the charts for this machine. We can't ship them without an install video on our YouTube channel. There will be a more professional, more in-depth video to come, but this should at least point you in the right direction. And as always, if there's any questions, our line's always open, emails are open to walk you guys through this. So thank you very much for watching.